Whether you are an actual broker or you're an investor, the main priority is deal sourcing. So listen, I'm excited that you joined the program. I'm so excited to see your transformation. What I'd like to do during these sessions is kind of do a deep dive on a few different bottlenecks you might be experiencing in your business. So I'd like to kind of give you the ability to kind of just dive into feeling like, give me some of your 2 cents of like where you feel like you're experiencing those challenges or bottlenecks so we can kind of have some breakthroughs there first.
So I think for me, I've never done the broker side of things. So I've always kind of worked on the corporate environment. So everything is kind of like laid out for me. I just need to do the work. So the challenge that I have right now is like, okay, how do I turn this into a business and all the things that I need to incorporate? I'm not good with technology. I'm going to flat out say that. I'm not good with technology. If I have it, I can go ahead and use it. But if I don't, it's going to take me forever. So there was an episode that I saw that you did with the three of your students. And one that relates to me a little bit more was Boris. Boris, with him, he started kind of he started with residential and he's going into this, but he didn't have any system in place. And I felt like that was where I was struggling too. But I was able to kind of pick out a lot of here's where you need to kind of start because you're kind of starting at the beginning stage. So you need to set out your agenda and you need to block out time where you need to focus your attention. So I'm picking a lot of those stuff up from his session. So I'm going to incorporate that. But then for me, I think the other part that I'm struggling personally for myself is, and I want your input on that, is that my original thing is I've been a banker for a long time, a commercial lender, basically, for a corporation. I haven't been doing that for the last 2 years because I want to focus on being more like a principal, essentially. And the last 2 years, I kind of like got involved in a lot more of the investment, the real estate investment has a portfolio of like short-term rental. It's not really where I want to be. I kind of want to go back and shift my attention towards the commercial side, strip malls specifically, and then industrial. So the beginning of this year, there was another program that I joined that can be able to kind of help me set the foundation for it. But then, of course, finding good deals to kind of pencil out is hard. But then also, even if you're investing into it, you don't really get that kind of cash flow that you need for your daily stuff or even the return for a couple years. Sometimes it's like 3 years, sometimes it's like 5 years, even 10 years. If there's not like an event for like a refi or cash out or like a sales or something like that, I need living. So then in the last 2 months, I've been focusing more on the brokerage side. I am with a broker, with the brokerage right now, but it's more like an investor's brokerage where it's just myself and one other broker. And she's also like an investor herself too. So it's hard for her because she's been doing it for a little while. So she has her network of clients to be able to do transaction. But at the same time, she's working on different stages of her own portfolio that she has also accumulated, either stabilizing it or whether acquiring it. So it's not like I can be at every single point of her, following her, right? On every single point of it, because she could be flying out here, could be doing this, could be doing that. I'm not starting from the beginning. So then it's hard. But where she has helped me in the last 2 months when I started focusing more on the brokerage side is that, hey, I haven't done this. I don't even know, the process of even listing a deal and stuff like that, right? So then if I have a deal, I would ask her to see if she can be able to co-list with me. So we've been able to do that. So we sold like an office building in the last 2 weeks. Nice. And then we've been working on getting a couple of these apartments that were like my contact that I've worked with in the past. So now we're kind of like analyzing the information to hopefully get it either listed, but I wanted to be able to find that warm leads to be able to kind of piece the buyers and the sellers together. So I've been kind of developing that. The process for me though is where it's hard because I'm on my own. And so every single time if I have a question, she's always open to be able to answer. However, I need a bigger team. I think I need a bigger support. And that's where I'm kind of been having a lot of the challenge. And this last week here, I was, kind of like asking other people for their leads of what kind of brokerage I should be focusing on. So then I've been kind of meeting with different sort of like more boutique brokers because I don't want to go back to the BCRE, like the CBRE, the Marcus and Millichap. That's more like a corporate environment that I don't think I want to be back in that environment, but
Yeah.
I do want to be with another place that has maybe like a system already in place. But I do, a lot of the people that I've been working with, if they do branch out to like set up their own brokerage and have their own team, they already know what they're doing. So they're kind of like independent on their own. And
Yeah.
some of the brokerages that I've been talking to, they're like, oh yeah, we only have like a virtual meeting every once a month, but we all have been working from home. So then I'm like, well, if I go to that, then how do I get the support, right? That's one of the challenge that I'm having right now. The other challenge that I'm having is like, okay, even if I were to stay here and then incorporate all these different processes, whether it's implementing the mutual dialers that you have, which I find very, very helpful, or even like a CRM tools or whatever, all those pieces will work for me, but it's taking me a long time because I'm not used to it. And so this past week, I'm like, okay, where can I get leads? And then how does it go from there to getting into for me to start producing, calling on it? And that's just killing my time because I'm not very good and savvy of that. So that's the second bottleneck that I have. And then of course, the third things that I have is like, just being more presence, like not being like an invisible person of like letting other people know. So social media, basically, it's where I'm also feeling uncomfortable with it right now because I haven't really been active in the nature of like the business sense, right? Because it's always been like very private with my business stuff and then more private with my personal life. So I haven't really commingling that.
Okay.
So that's the other part that I feel like, okay, I probably do need to have some help on. So
number one, what I heard you say was a system, having a system in place so that you know what to do with what, where everything goes, how to do X, Y, and Z, what software to use, so that you just kind of feel like you're not so like wondering what to do next. So I heard you say one was having a system. Number two, I heard you talk about a brokerage. We can definitely talk about some options there and what would probably or possibly be the most lucrative to make sure that you feel like you're getting the support you need. And then number three was the aspects in regards to social media, how, currently you're having, the separation of personal business versus professional life. We're going to try to wrap that all together. Am I missing anything?
No, I don't think so. I mean, I think for this first meeting,
Cool. So let's dive in one piece at a time, right? So why don't we do, let's talk about the systems in place first, which I think can also help you with the cold. I mean, like every aspect of the systems in place, right? So first and foremost, I think this has to do with a few different pieces of your life, which is number one, your routine, okay? Because your routine is also going to affect the system you have in place. So I would look at it like this. Let's create a really good routine, aka schedule that you can follow religiously, daily basis. Every day looks the same. This way you kind of have a minimum metric for each aspect of the schedule. So like, okay, if today was a good day, today was a bad day, what do you need to work on? And it's all pretty self-explanatory. In regards to your schedule, what do you think you should be spending the most time on?
I mean, prospecting for sure.
I agree 100%. Like the way I look at it is whether you are an actual broker and like that's the main business, or you're an investor where that is the main business and you want to buy properties, the main priority is deal sourcing, period, end of story. So again, whether you just want to be an investor only, or you're going to be a top broker in your in your area, you have to be amazing at deal sourcing, right? It's like the most important, highest dollar productivity activity you could be doing. I mean, that's why we get paid the big bucks. The mentality we get to have, and what we try to talk about in the coaching program all the time is like thinking like an investor, but being like the source of all deals in your area. Any investor, any broker wants to be like, holy cow, look what Meehan's doing. How is she sourcing so many good deals? I want to be like her. That's what you want to be thinking about. It's like, okay, I want to be the number one deal source in my state. My mentality is like, one day I want to be the number one deal source in the country, right? Like that's the way I'm thinking. It's like, if people want to make money in real estate, they need to call me. That's been my mentality for a long time. And that's sort of what I talk about with a lot of the students and the team members that we bring on. Be the deal source. So what does the deal source look like? What daily activities do you need to be doing? You said prospecting. I agree. Our typical day will start with prospecting. So from 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, whenever you can, quote, get to the office, whether that's your house or an actual office, you're going to be prospecting for 3 hours minimum a day.
So I have it down where I'm like, okay, I get up and go to the gym. And then by the time I get to the office, 9:30 is where 9:30.
Great. So from 9:30 to 12:30 every day, prospecting. So what I'm going to do really quickly, I'm going to share my screen. So this is Reonomy.
Yeah.
You're familiar?
No, I'm not. But I did have my broker pull a list the other day. She was like, I'm like, I need leads. And she's like, oh, me just pull this quickly for you.
So like EXP as an example, this is just a dummy account that I really don't use too often, but like this is just an account so I can, show individuals and use it for YouTube and everything like that. So give people an example for Reonomy, right? So like what you can do is you can go into Reonomy. Again, this is a software anyone can get. It comes with my brokerage, right? So we get access to this. Where you can pull lead lists, right? So this will give you, a dummy account at our brokerage gives you about 1,000 leads a month. You can upgrade and get up to 2, 3, 5, 10, 20,000 leads a month, depending on how much you're willing to spend. And you can pull those lead lists. Let's just say, what county are you in right now?
Hennepin. A lot of it is Hennepin.
Let's click on this. Let it sort out. Give it a minute. Okay,
and
cool.
I know you mentioned that you're having another video coming up that's gonna kind of go.
Yeah, we're gonna be going through a lot of this, but this will just be short.
And that's the other thing too. Like I don't have this, and I'm at a brokerage that I'm not having any splits, so there's no resources.
I get it. Which I mean, like, listen, like, thankfully, I'm also at a brokerage that's very low splits or, very good splits. And, we also get some great resources. So this will be an option for you where 86,000, let's just say, do you have a type of asset class you're looking to target?
Yeah, right now I'm kind of doing a lot more like retail.
So let's just take retail, except I'm only going to do, let's do retail stores. And we can also try to do shopping center, supermarket.
Yeah, shopping center. I kind of prefer the more like multi-tenant.
Of course. Yeah. I mean, retail stores has that included. For whatever reason, Reonomy, sometimes some random ones get thrown in there. It's like something like, as an example, like restaurant. It could be, this might be a standalone or a part of a retail center. Let's just hit apply. So you have 2,947 properties in totality in this one county alone. Obviously, you could do a large percentage of the state, but this is just giving an example. Let's say that I also go to more filters and I go to owners that include phone numbers, down to 2,400. Let's say that we're going to go to sales, not within the last 10 years. There's 1,257 properties that have not sold in the last 10 years. Let's say that I also want to do properties that have a decent price point. So like, do you have like a percentage tax basis? Do you know like your tax basis? 1%?
Like
sales price?
7%.
7% sales tax? Sorry, no, property tax. I'm sorry.
Oh, probably like 5%.
5%. What I'm saying is like, okay, like, because I'm just trying to give you an example. Like, let's just say that we do $25,000 minimum in taxes. Right. So like I'm trying to just do larger properties. You know what I'm saying? And like obviously you can play around with this, do 30, 40, 50,000, whatever you need. But so like, okay, 751 properties now. Right. So like this will be a great list for you to pull and this will be something for you to prospect. So it's like, okay, if you look at one property right off the bat, let's just say that I'm just trying to give you an example. New debt of $2 million, 2,000 square feet. That's not what I want to do. Sort. I'm just going to play around with something. This is 22,000 square feet building. It's a little bit, I don't even know if this is a Walgreens. It almost looks like a Walgreens or something. I wouldn't worry about this so much, but is that an AutoZone? It is an AutoZone. Okay, cool.
I think it's like a little strip center.
Yeah, looks like a property.
Well, it's quite large for 32 square feet. Well,
I know it's a huge one. I'm just like, as an example, right? Like obviously some of these are going to be good. Some of these are going to be not great. Let me see if I can sort by building area. There we go. Again, the thing with Reonomy is that it's not 100% accurate when it comes to it, because sometimes they have the exact square footage. Okay. Sometimes they don't have the exact square footage, but I'm like, here you go. I mean, like, these are freaking awesome. I mean, like, 625,000, 700,000, 1 million square feet, 1.5 million square feet. Yeah. There's got new debt on this for $1.4 billion worth of debt, but this is obviously the mall. This is actually the mall locally. But I mean, even if you start playing in some of these realms, I mean, like obviously these are pretty great properties to be prospecting on. Give you an example, like again, you can see that all the phone numbers are here. You can be reaching out to some of these people. So you could be pulling a list. You go to export, you pull this list, you throw it into a dialer, and you upload. So
then you don't necessarily like because some of the lists that I have is from CoStar, and then so many of them, they don't have like a phone number. So then do you still skip trace that, or you just kind of put it into the dialer?
Yeah. So Reonomy for the most part has pretty decent phone numbers that we found. Okay. However, you can use a software called batch leads.
I saw you.
Yeah. So you can use batch leads, and just know that, like, people will talk about this all the time. It's like getting contact information is the name of the game. It's like why we get paid money. Because like, think about it, like if it was that easy to get a hold of these people, there's no purpose for us, right? Like, so that's why it's like, listen, like paying a little bit of extra money to skip trace it could actually be super lucrative. But that kind of gives you an idea for like pulling the list. You throw it into Mojo Dialer, and then for 3 hours a day, you're just going to prospect through the dialer. The cool part about the dialer is that what we do is that if it's a wrong number, you delete the number. So that way you can call that same list over and over and over again until it's basically down to nothing. And you've basically taken out all of the bad numbers and you remove all the great numbers because you put those in your CRM.
So then the other question that I had, and I kind of play around with it too, and maybe this is more like the Mojo stuff.
Sure.
So can I use like a Google Google Voice number. And
Yes,
is that
absolutely.
going to delay any sort of, or be like
No.
restricted to anything than using my phone number?
You can totally use a Google Voice number, Ring Central number, whatever you want to use.
Yeah, second question I have is like, so I was trying to do that on the module dialer and then testing it out because you know how they incorporate that. But then I feel like the way that it was working, it wasn't like dialing, I had the 3 dial. So then it was dialing, but I haven't seen it where kind of like where you're talking to somebody and it's calling the other person is connecting. I feel like it's completely just, I don't know, clear it out and then try to call like another 3 new person. So there's like no intersect. Kind of weird.
What happens is that Mojo will call 3 people at the same time. Okay. It will continue to auto dial until something answers, whether that's a voicemail, a fax machine, or a person. Once one person answers, it shuts down the other 2.
Oh, it does shut down.
It won't continue to dial. It will not continue to dial because you're specifically talking with somebody. If someone else answers at the exact same time, one person gets a callback message, which is like I like to use.
I recorded that based on your.
So you have a callback message to one person, and then you answer with one. It'll pause the other dials while you're continuing working with this one person. So as soon as you can go on, it'll dial all 3 again.
I see. Okay, so it is pausing it. So I'm not.
Yes.
Okay.
That's the morning routine. Now, the afternoon is a multi-segmented routine, okay, for your scheduling. The very first hour or 2 hours after your prospecting session is for your follow-up time, which means you've been building a database. You're going to be following up with on those leads. The reason why I cram these 2 things back to back is because you want to be able to say by 2 o'clock, I did my job. I did my prospecting. I followed with leads. I'm moving the needle as much as I possibly can. Where like if your entire day gets derailed by kids or family or personal life, whatever, I did my job. I'm okay. I like to get the 2 biggest things out of the way. So it's prospecting, then follow-up. So spend an hour 2 or so. I mean, based on your database, probably right now, maybe an hour. We were just following up with leads. And obviously that'll grow over time as you're prospecting for more leads. Once you put it into a CRM system, you're going to set up a task. So you know exactly who you should be calling every single day. And then to give you an idea, typically within the first 24, 48 hours or 72 hours at most, that's where a lot of conversion happens. Where like, if you speak to somebody today, I'd probably want to touch base with them Sunday or Monday, just to make sure that like I'm not losing this person.
Sure. Other questions that I have for you. Are you using like the module dialer as the CRM? Like everything you're plugging everything in there? Okay, so you have a separate CRM.
Separate CRM system, correct. So we use several different CRMs for different things. So we use REI Reply. We pay for that separately. REI Reply we use because it has an awesome campaign function, which we can use for ringless voicemails, auto text messages, and auto emails. We found a really great success with that software. So we use that. So we take basically all the leads and everything gets put in there. And then every single lead is put on a campaign.
Okay.
And then you can set up a task to follow up with somebody at X time. Okay.
So then when you are actually calling and you're inputting in information when I'm like listening to you live calls and stuff, so you're not inputting those information into the module system then.
What happens is this. Mojo is for 2 things. Mojo is great for outbound prospecting, cold leads. Okay, for brand new prospecting. And then what can happen is that if you want to export your leads from your CRM system that you've already generated, that you need to follow up with, you can export a lead list. Let's say you have 72 people you need to follow up with this week. It can be really daunting if you need to do that on hand dialing. However, you could export that list and throw it into Mojo.
But I thought the Mojo already has that in there. Like if you put in the
we just create a new list. We create a new list.
Oh, okay. So for me, like if I don't have anything, I'm just starting out, should I just use the Mojo?
Yes. Yeah. CRM? So don't get me wrong. Okay. I recommend you have a CRM system. You need a CRM. Like it's not something that I would be like, maybe get a CRM, maybe you don't. There's several real estate softwares and like honestly, several brokerages have CRM softwares that are included. I would just recommend getting one of them and using it. And all you really need it to be able to do.
That's where the other challenge that I have is like trying to figure out all the systems.
Listen, REI Reply is actually incredibly technical. Like if you're not techie, which I know you mentioned at the beginning, you're not, I do not recommend it. I really don't. Maybe something like Follow Up Boss, which is again a residential one, but you can use that. A KV Core is another good one. EXP includes that one. Build Out it also includes. It's another good one. There's a lot of different ones that are included with different companies, but I recommend just finding a really non-techie software.
What about like a HubSpot? HubSpot. Yeah.
HubSpot there's a lot of things that I like about it, and there's a lot of things that are like there's so many features in HubSpot where like it also if you're not techie, it's quite complicated. That's just my personal experience. That's why I try to say something like probably KV Core or Follow Up Boss are probably like 2 really simplistic softwares that you can probably check out. I definitely would not recommend a Google Sheet as much as I know that some people recommend it as your first one. Don't use a Google Sheet.
But doesn't the Mojo dialers, all the information you input in there,
so
doesn't that generate like a task and follow up as well too?
Yeah. So Mojo dialer is fantastic for dialing. For organizational purposes of your leads, it's not that great. I like to use Mojo for what it's great for and not what it's bad for, right? So like I take those leads, I'm calling, I'll copy and paste. I have like my notes open in a separate tab. I have a MacBook, so I have my notes open. I copy and paste all my information from that lead into a note. I take that note and I'll import that into my CRM, or now my VA does that. So all that's imported into my CRM. All the notes are in there. I can organize it. It tells me when to follow up with the person next. Like it's clean and easy. I use a CRM for what a CRM's for and Mojo what Mojo's for. But realistically, that's like you need the software to pull the leads. You need the software to dial the leads, and you need a software to organize the leads. And that's it. I'm very techie, but I like things simple, so it's duplicatable. So like, again, this is about as simple as we can make it. The remaining part of your day, and then because I want to go on to the other two things really quickly, because I know we're spending a lot of time here, is like the remaining part of your day is going to be all pitching deals, which is like you've generated leads. It's time to sell them. You need to sell those leads now, which pitching deals is like, hey, I got a property at 123 Main Street. It's 22,000 square feet. They want, $2.5 million. You're bringing all the financial data, all the financials and all the information to the property to an investor. You underwrite the deal. I make an offer on the property first. I'll be like, okay, well, he wants 2.5. I'll offer 1.4. See what they would consider, see if they will take my offer. And if maybe they're like, I won't do 1.4, but I'll do 1.7. Great. I just negotiated down the price, so it's easier for me to sell it, or maybe I'll buy it myself. So that's where you're going to pitch deals. That's where you're going to underwrite deals. That's when you're going to make offers. That's when like the entire time of you converting beyond the follow-up time, like now it's time to convert those deals into contracts. So the entire rest of my day, like 1 o'clock or 2 o'clock or so in the afternoon to like 6 o'clock at night, I'm just pitching deals.
So now my question for you is me building up my buyer sheet, I guess. And then that warm leads for pitching deals. How do you recommend me going about that? Like, where should I focus my attention, or what should I do to start building that up?
We're talking about the buyer side of this game, correct?
Yeah, because if I'm pitching the deals for, like to the buyers, for example, then I need to start building that up as well too. So
sure. So watch how cool this is, right? I'm going to share my screen again for Reonomy. Another way that you can play this game is that you go into Reonomy. Okay. You go to filters. You go to sales, sold within the last 12 months. Let me go back to your county. So you have 175 properties that have traded in the last 12 months. Okay, now you're going to go to apply. What I'm saying you could do is like, okay, this property sold for $55 million. That can be somebody you reach out to. I mean, AutoZone bought a property.
Okay, so then you're, okay.
So what I can do here is like, I'm going to look at like, okay, watch, right? This is even like super specific. Building square footage, high to low. I'm going to look at someone who bought 35,000 for like, these are interesting ones, right? Like, again, like this is probably an individual. This one just traded, sold for 850 grand, 33,000 square feet for 850. I mean, that's a steal. So I probably wouldn't call them. All right, here you go. 22,000 square feet for 11 million bucks. Interesting. Cool. I'm going to reach out to this person. I mean, they paid a great price, right? Like I'm probably going to call them, right? And be like, hey, I have another 22,000 square foot property locally. Would you like to take a look at it? Right? I know you just bought a property at XYZ area. It's proven concept that they're buying properties right now. So I'm looking at all this, right? Like, oh, okay. Like I want to see how many, like this person bought 2 properties, sold in July. They bought a 43,000 square foot and a 37,000 square foot, and they look at different locations here. Here's another one, right? So like I would call this person. They bought 3 freaking properties, right? In the month of July. Probably not going to call Walmart, but you get my point. The cool thing also about commercial is that most sellers are buyers, and you can actually click on, I'm not going to do this now because I don't want to share financial information, or YouTube will not let me post it, but you can actually see once you've clicked on the property, you can actually see how many properties they own.
Sure.
So it's all there. And obviously you can play around this with this, spend an hour, 2, 3, and kind of go through this. And you can say, like, oh, okay, these are a couple key people that I should be trying to get a hold of.
Sure. Yeah. Okay.
Let's move on to the brokerage side. You feel content there? You feel good?
Yep.
And remember, like, and last thing I'm just going to say with this is, listen, if you do not have a lot of good deals to pitch out, what do you think you should be spending more time doing?
Just deal sourcing. So
that's it. Deal sourcing. I do the same thing. And if I feel like I'm running out of deals to sell, I got to get back on the phones.
Sure. Right. Okay.
Let's go to brokerage side. Just realize with the brokerage side, the only 2 or 3 pieces of advice that I can give you really quickly is every single person is in their best interest. Every brokerage you go to, they're not going to be giving you the good, the bad, the ugly about their brokerage. They're only going to tell you the good parts. So every brokerage is going to be like, oh, here's like, we're the best. Okay. Be cognizant of that. Going to a brokerage where you have a boutique brokerage where you have 3 people instead of the 1 person you're with now as a boutique brokerage is probably not going to be a drastic difference of your current situation.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Having the systems, having the support and everything like that, like maybe being on a team can be super supportive. Again, I'm not telling you to do so, but just knowing that, like, instead of trying to do it.
You recommend me? I mean, like I said,
possibly, yeah. I mean, like maybe being on a team could be super lucrative, at least for like 12 months, right? Like maybe, again, not a long-term play, but like at least give yourself some runway so that you can have some systems for yourself where like you feel a little bit more comfortable, where over the next 6, 12, 24 months, you feel like you have the support you need so that you can go fly on your own. Just an option. Just keep that in mind. But I definitely would
I
think
just
that.
feel like a lot of the brokerage, because you're new. So then they're like, oh, investment sales is where I kind of want to be. I don't want to be like doing like tenant reps or,
I get it.
landlord reps and stuff. And
Yeah,
many of them saying, hey, if you're joining our brokerage, you're either going to be an associate and you're also going to be doing a lot of that probably to start, which I think
yeah,
it's very valuable, but I don't want to be landing there,
sure.
and I don't want that to be like, I don't
Yeah.
want to be stuck there.
To be frank, like the reason why I went to EXP, and this is not a sale of EXP, because I think that like they're a very new player in the commercial world. I just think they're going to be very dangerous long term. I mean, like they're doing a lot of amazing things here. Compensation's fantastic. The software is great. The ease of getting support is there. It's sort of like I'm an entrepreneur at heart. I don't need to be handheld every single step of the way. And for
Uh-huh.
someone like yourself who needs hand holding, like obviously I'm here for support
The
purposes.
beginning.
Yeah. So like just know that like again that is an option as well. We can obviously have a further conversation if you'd like there as well.
And then I was listening to your, CRE accelerator, and then towards the end, I think one of your partner or Brett,
Brett,
I think he
Brett.
was talking about Align. I don't
Yeah,
understand
so
that.
Align is like one of the so like Brett runs his own commercial team in
Okay.
New Jersey. His company is Align. Like what I do is that I basically partner with several teams like his and help him like blow up his commercial division.
Okay.
So
So
essentially,
he is a brokerage then.
no, so he's with the XP with me.
Oh, okay. So
Yep,
then Align.
is
So
his
is
team name.
Align something that could kind of help me sort of like just
So, but I'm
all
saying like it's
stuff?
like it's like working with me, right? Like so essentially like he's one of my many partners that I have partnerships with where like for New Jersey agents, he's someone where like give me an example. I literally just had somebody that they were talking about joining a team, similar very similar situation as yourself. And I was like,
Uh-huh.
however, they do a lot more residential. So I was like, join Brett's residential team in New Jersey because they're very hands-on, right? So for someone like yourself, like again, like you and I can talk about a team partnership if you'd like. I know again, I'm doing it here in Florida. I mean, I have it in New Jersey and I'm looking to expand in other states. You and I can talk a lot more frequently, kind of be able to structure things out long term.
Okay.
So we
Yeah.
can definitely talk about that at next time. There's that. And then the last piece of this is social media. One thing I want you to know is that social media, I've also had my mentality has changed over the last near half decade with social media as with the level of importance. Over the last 5 years, I went from this is a cool thing that not really going to affect my business to this is something that's absolutely mandatory for me to be and become and to achieve the results I want in my life. So for someone like yourself, social media is not just a kidsy thing. Social media is where every business on planet Earth lies first. I'm an old school person where like I'll Google things still. However, most people will actually go on social media first. A lot of people will go on social media first and look you up. So it's like, okay, if you want to do some business and they don't see you on social media, it's hard with like they don't know who you are. You have no presence.
Yeah, I mean, I'm on there, but I don't post or I don't market myself on the business side of thing,
I
right?
get
It's
it.
just more like personal. So,
I get it. So just know that, like,
yeah.
listen, just think about it like this. Your business and your personal life is the same thing. No, you don't have to fake it. When you're not so
Yeah.
you don't have to be something that you're not. You can
Uh-huh.
just document what you're doing on a daily basis. Hey, I'm touring a retail, you're selfieing it, right? You take your camera or your phone and you just selfie it, right? And you hold a camera. Hey, I'm walking a 30,000 square foot retail building behind me. I'm working with one of my investors, John, who's interested in buying a property through a 1031 exchange. So we're touring this property right now. Just wanted to give you a quick insight of what we're doing now. If you're interested in possibly learning about investing in commercial real estate or buying your next investment property, make sure you direct message me. Like the point is like document what you're doing, not so much of trying to educate the world. You don't have to do that. It can feel easy because you're just like, oh, hey, good morning, everybody. I'm hitting the phones. You can see like I got my dialer set up. I'm just prospecting the phones
Yeah.
today. I know I got an interesting lead, someone who's got a 15,000 square foot retail center looking to sell. They're looking to retire. Whatever it is. If you happen to know somebody who might be interested in buying a retail center in Hennepin, Minnesota, make sure you reach out. And just keep it light and fun. Like you don't have to. It doesn't have to be something that you're not.
Well, I think it's just a lot of it is also because I'm new. So I do have a little bit of that imposter syndrome or that limiting beliefs of like, hey, am I, like
That's why it's
shit.
documenting. That's why it's documenting, not talking about something you're gonna do or should do. You know what I'm saying? I've been doing this for near a decade, $500 million in sales. Like I have gotten to the point where like I can talk about what I've done. And also just know what you've created on the you said the rental business that you have right now, like you've done several investments, you have a very high level of expertise in what you've achieved already in your life. You can talk in what you do know. Hey, here's the what Airbnbs, right?
Airbnb, and I also invested as an LP in apartment, and now I'm investing in Script Center. So
hey, like if you're interested in understanding what an LP is and how that process works, because maybe you have 50,000, if you have 50 to $100,000 to invest, and you're worried about making the wrong choice when it comes to buying real estate, and you feel like it'd be safer to place it with somebody who has a better understanding of operations to really squeeze the juice out of returns, let me explain to you what I did, right? And like you just talk about what you did. So there's no way for you to feel like, oh, like I can't talk on this, because you can, because you've done it.
Okay.
Right. Make very achievable goals when it comes to social media. 1 post a week, 2 posts a week. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I do 3 hours of recording a week now, or 4 hours of recording a week, just because that's what works for me. And I have an editing team, whole 9 yards. I did not start there. You can pay someone $500 to come set up a camera for you once a month for 3 hours and just record some content.
Okay. Yeah. I feel like I just need a bigger team, because I'm on my own. Sometimes it's like even role playing, or, just kind of reading through your script, or even like leaving a voicemail. I'm like, oh, did I, I have to kind of do it a couple times. So that's where I was like, okay, I like the flexibility with what I have as my own business, but at the same time, I feel like I can't accelerate, or I need bigger support if I need to have something that's a little bit more of a faster response or whatever.
Yeah. And just know that, like, number one, you've only been doing this a little while. Give yourself a little bit of grace. My first year was horrible. Like I made $30,000 my first year, and the check didn't come till the 11th month or 12th month. And my second year, I made 40, just shy of 40 grand, not even 40 grand. And I made all of that, in a lot of little baby checks from like BS deals, right? Like, so like, I just want you to know, like my first 2 years, I didn't even break 40 grand, and I didn't have the mentorship and the guidance and all the things that you already have. And I was, again, I was a 20-year-old kid. So like, just know that, like, give yourself some freaking grace, because you can be making several million a year in 7 or 8 years. And that would be great, right? Like you don't have to achieve that tomorrow. It's just about getting inches better than you were yesterday, right? It's just getting 1% better than the day before. And if you're ever like, okay, like with a script, like what I'll tell my guys to do, or my sales team, is I'll be like, listen, when you're making phone calls, if there's something that came up and you did not know what to say, write it down so you can work on it. There's only going to be like, 7 to 10 objections, 7 to 12 objections you're really ever going to hear over and over and over and over and over again. So when you get one, write it down and then be like, okay, next time I hear X, I'm going to say this.
No, it's very helpful to kind of listen to you making live cold calls, and you are repeating the same thing over and over again. So I think once you know the script, I mean, I'm pretty sure there's certain things that it's just going to jump out of my mouth because I've already experienced that. So
like, listen, like I said, give yourself some grace, because it's like, I've made over 1 million sales calls. So it's like, it's in my head, like my cell phone number. You got a gun to my head. You're like, what's your cell phone number? I'm like, I can obviously say that. What's the alphabet? I can obviously say that. But if I had a gun to your head right now, I'm like, hey, read your sales script. Like you're not gonna be able to recite it. But like when you've done it as many times, like I have, it doesn't seem daunting anymore. So just know, like, I want you to hear something really quick before we jump off for today. My experience of cold calling at the very beginning of my career, when I already came from a management background of telling people how to answer service calls on the phone, I was freaking terrified. I was like the kind of person where I was like, I'll get 10 no's a day, and then I'm not doing this anymore.
Sure.
So like, just know, like,
encouraging.
Yeah, 100%. So like, I can relate 100%. I still remember those days and like sitting in that chair and being terrified of picking up the phone because I didn't know what to say. And once you get like a little bit of a routine going, all of a sudden, like it's like a switch turning on and off. Like you're going to see a drastic difference in your conversion just because of your confidence level and what you're saying over the phone.
Sure.
Any other clarifying questions that you feel like you need support with?
One other thing, like for example, when you're kind of like pitching deals and you're like a principal, right? So you have your own company. I mean, right now, everything that you do is your name, and I'm underneath somebody else as brokerage. So then am I supposed to be like advertising, or should I have like my own company name, for example, if I have investment? Or am I supposed to be sending everything out underneath this brokerage that I'm under? How do I market myself to not get myself in trouble? And I think I kind of get stuck on that piece too.
So what my philosophy has always been this: if it's a fantastic deal and I'm probably going to buy it, like that's the angle I'm playing right now. I play the angle, right? So like if this is a good deal, I'm going to play the angle of being an investor and selling it in emailing through my investor email, like, as I have a separate company with that email.
Okay,
and then,
so
like,
you do. Okay.
Yeah. So like, but if I'm like, this is definitely a broker deal all day long. Like there's no way I'm going to sell this any other way. Then I will 100% of the time use my broker email. I just, whatever that angle is, I stick to it long-term. Right. And then like, obviously if I have to flip it over into a brokerage conversation, I'll be like, okay, like let me talk it over with my partners. Oh, I have a client who actually might be a better option for you. Just full disclosure, I am a commercial real estate broker as well. I'm not looking for a listing, but like, again, one of my clients actually might be a good fit for this, and I'll send it out through my broker email.
Okay.
So I like to keep
Okay.
it
So
separate.
I think I probably do need to establish something with a little bit more formal, like email coming from the
And just listen, the
my
cool part about
investment
it is like,
side.
listen, like you can completely template it. You write out one email, one time, you just send it to everyone. Don't overthink it every single time. You just need to have one template.
Yeah, I think I was just like playing the rule of like
Yeah.
whatever I learn in like the residential side with what being protected, what you need to like
Very
have
different,
out.
very different in the commercial world.
Yeah. Okay. Those are just kind of like the bottlenecks that I was having.
Cool.
So
And listen,
obviously
like,
I'm kind of working on,
and like, I want you to know this last thing before we jump. Focus on working these few bottlenecks before we work on the next. Let's get
yeah,
these right. Let's work on these few things here. Let's get you in a really good position, and then we can start working on the next.
I know I need to have these processes down, and I feel like
And
it's
listen,
taking a little bit
become a
longer.
masterful prospector. Get really good at that routine. Work on your follow-up skills so you get in that routine and start pitching some deals out so you feel really comfortable where we can start having the next level of conversation, start scaling the business up a little bit.
Okay.
All
All
right.
right.
Beautiful.
Thank you.
Listen, awesome job. Awesome job. Super excited to connect today. If you need any more support, obviously you can email us at info@henryeisenstein.com. Sounds good. Listen, again, if you need any support, just reach out. Okay. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Okay. I will. Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.
Yeah, bye.